30 Minutes with Ron. Hi, I'm Ron Gagliardi. I'm the host of 30 Minutes with Ron. And before I introduce my guests, I have a special announcement to make. I want to give a shout out to some of the kids who I've been subbing for at Dodd Middle School and Cheshire High School. Because every so often when I mention I have a TV show, they say, whoa, he's got a TV show, thinking it must be broadcast, but it's wonderful at Cox Cable here. So anyway, shout out to all the kids who tune into my show and watch it for 10 or 12 seconds. Now that that's out of the way, we have two guests this evening. We have guest person number one, Mr. Jim Conroy. Pleased to see you, sir.
Thanks for having me, Ron.
Well, my pleasure. And guest person number two, Tony Ruggiero, or Ruggiero.
As you wish.
Yes.
Thanks. Good to be here again.
Yes, he was on twice. This is his second time. He survived the first time and actually was willing to come back the second time. All right, here we go. I met Mr. Jim Conroy in back of Dodd Middle School on the day of the election. And he was handing out some literature for one of his candidates. And I was visiting with some of the kids from the Young Democrats from Cheshire High School. And I thought he looked particularly lonely over there. And I said, you know, just because I'm a Democrat, that doesn't mean I can't go over and say hello to Republicans. I like Republicans. So we talked a little bit. And somebody came by and mentioned that he had done a book. And I talked to him about the book. And I said, that could be an interesting show. So we finally got everything together. And tonight's the night. Now, first of all, before we get to the book, tell me a little bit about you, because I know you live in Cheshire. I know you did a couple of books, but what's your life like? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Cheshire, went to Chapman and Dodd, and went away to school and high school, and went to college in upstate New York at a small liberal arts college called Hobart, and spent several years in and out of the financial world. And then I was in some sales, and I've written a couple of books, so here I am.
All right, we'll have to talk about the books a little more, because
Okay.
that's one of the reasons we're here. And Tony, how do you come to be on this set?
I met Jim through the Cheshire CPFA, Cheshire Performing Fine Arts. I was recommended by the director, Joanne Plarchik, if I may say so, that we get together because I happen to be an artist, illustrator, and happens to be an author. So we met back just about a year ago, almost to the day.
But how did you get to be an artist? I mean, artists aren't just
how did
born.
I get to be an
yes.
artist? Well,
How did that happen?
Still a mystery. I'm a self-taught artist. I've been doing it for about 14 years. I came about being an artist because my job went away, just evaporated, and
What was that job?
that job was in training and development. Wrote, directed, and performed in front of a lot of unwilling people who went through training, sales and management training for a small company. Yeah. And so I looked for some work. I was a little advanced in age, you might say.
Oh, you
at
can't
the
tell,
time.
though.
I can't talk about age.
No, you can't tell.
Oh, I can't tell. Oh, thank you. And I looked around, and there were a few jobs. One was in Omaha for a director of training that I was looking for, and Tupelo. So I decided to retire from working, period.
Yeah.
And started drawing on my own. I'm a self-taught artist. Been teaching at the Arts Place here in Cheshire for about 12, 13 years. I teach drawing, realistic drawing, pen and ink, and perspective, and a number of different topics.
We'll get more into that. We have some of your work here, so we got to show some of your work. But first, we got to talk about some books. Okay, your first book was a serious book.
First book was a serious book about trade, tax, healthcare, and the Federal Reserve.
Ah.
Yes.
All right. I have to get one of those for the collection.
Okay.
I'm the town historian emeritus of Cheshire.
Okay.
I have an extensive collection of Cheshire authors.
Okay.
So I'll have to buy a book of that, if you still have some,
I do.
and some of those.
Okay,
We
deal.
gotta have an extensive collection, complete, everybody, right? All right, so you had that book,
Yes.
and then an idea occurred to you based on a childhood experience.
No, I was at a Christmas party, and
Oh, you were an adult at this time.
this was 4 years ago.
Oh, I missed that. All right,
And
tell
I
us.
was at a Christmas party, and I tend to be the last one to leave, and this was the case this time. And my friend's son, who was about 4 at the time, wouldn't go to bed. So feeling creative at the time, I said, little Joe, if you don't go to bed, Santa's going to skip this house. He says, what? And I said, yeah, I'm an elf. I'll go home and use my special phone.
And you were able to convince him that you were an elf.
Yes.
You're kind of big for an elf.
Well, I know, but they come in all shapes and sizes.
Well, that's true.
And so he went to bed, and the wife, my friend's wife, his mother, thanked me. And then the following year, I had a conversation with him coming home from dinner, and it was a 30-minute conversation about my duties as an elf. How many elves are there? 940. What's your number? I said 719. What's some of the things you do? I take care of one of the deer. Which one? And you have to prepare the answers, anticipating the question. And I pulled it off, and the mother literally turned around from the front seat and said, since you've written a book, why don't you write a book about this? And I said, I think I will. And so there's deer in the backyard where I live, and I sent a picture of it with a note from Santa, and he won show and tell at school. He brought it to school and was a big hero. He got a note from Santa. And so I decided to take ink to paper and came up, wrote a book, and it was pretty easy because it was from memory.
Right.
And I asked my publisher for an illustrator, and they put me in touch with one. And I used her for the first book. And a lot of people liked it. There's a little bit of an adult theme, romance between the teacher and me, but they really liked the kid's story. Mm-hmm. And they wanted a sequel, so I came up with a sequel. But I needed to find an illustrator because the one I used was in Oregon. And emails and phone calls, you just can't collaborate as well.
Right.
And I asked a friend at church, Valerie, and she put me in touch with Joanne, and Joanne called Tony, and here we are. And I think you agree, Tony, we've had a lot of fun doing this.
We had a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt.
If it ain't fun, don't do it.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
And he did a great job in a short time span because the book was supposed to come out the previous year. And this was May of last year, and you need to get done by July,
Right, yeah.
August. And the previous illustrator took about 8 months to do the illustrations. Tony did this in 3. So, and he's done a wonderful job.
He's fast. He's quick.
Oh.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
All right, so now hold up the first book that was you and the illustrator from Oregon. All right, title of it is Little Joe's Christmas. And it's basically the story that you just told us.
correct.
All right. And the second book, okay, now, Little Joe Meets Santa Claus. And hold it up still a little longer. And you have your name on the front there. And where does Tony's name come in? Where's Tony's name?
Yeah, it is below mine.
Oh, no.
That was
The author gets top billing.
And the publisher has some decisions.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah.
sort of out of my hand.
Yeah. And now the second book with this illustrator, you said it took shorter time. How did it come together? Let's ask Tony a little bit. We want him to talk a little bit.
Yeah.
What happened in the first meeting?
Well, we just did a little, back and forth. The general questions: what's your time frame? What kind of experiences should I expect? What's the time? What is the? How often are we going to get together? I was trying to calculate time because I knew eventually we were going to be talking price, and just getting to know each other and a sense of what the book is about. Number one, and then I had to start noodling even at that point. How long is it going to take, and how much am I going to charge this guy?
Right, yeah.
So that was it. And the good news, I think, for Jim, more than me, was we live in Cheshire. I'm not in Oregon, and we met quite frequently.
Yes.
Quite frequently.
Which helped.
Because as an illustrator, not that you're asking me this, you're trying to create what's in his mind onto paper, and it's never easy. And I think we did pretty well. We pulled it off a little over 3 months.
Did you know how many illustrations you wanted, which particular spots you wanted them?
Yes. I have an idea of where I want an illustration and where to put it in the book, obviously.
Yeah.
I originally wanted a few more, but I could do without them to meet the time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we had, what, 18, 19 illustrations?
Something like that.
19,
Just almost-
19 illustrations. I
Yeah.
probably wanted 21 or 23 that, you know, had we had more time, it would have been nice, but we didn't have that luxury. So, and you really don't miss the illustrations that aren't in there. So it's still a good book.
It's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Now, when I was looking at your portfolio earlier, you had a rough sketch that you had shown to Jim?
Oh, yeah, this is after the initial talk about each of
Yep.
the as we went through it, as each of the illustrations.
Yep.
You know, you end up with something like these. These are just rough
Hold that
sketches.
toward the camera.
Just rough sketches that start the process, get it going, and it's approved, it's amended, changed, everything happens, and we end up with pretty close to thinking about the same thing, although there are changes after I get started. But that's pretty much the beginning of it, just scratching some stuff down.
Okay, but now your style
My
is
style.
particularly not that type of illustration.
Yeah, that was
It's
my
pointillism.
Pointillism, dots.
Yep. I always say, that's nice.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, show us
I
an
just
example.
keep getting into dots. I use dots. I use pen and ink primarily, although I do some pencil work. This is one that I did. Believe it or not, it started at a certain point and it ended 18 months later.
Wow.
I got tired of doing it. There are about 40 celebrities here. It's called The Good, Bad, and Ugly. And had a lot of fun doing it. And one of the things I do is I was selling these, and I would sell it to a person and say, I can put one of your favorite people in here, your husband, wife, son, daughter, which I did on occasion. My sons are in here too. I eliminate one, put it in, and charge them some exorbitant rate to
of
do
course,
that.
yes.
Of course. But they're all dots, every one, and people always ask me how many, and I always give them a number. Who knows?
1,327,000.
Always close to that number, but that's it.
Okay,
That's
now
pretty
you're
much
in
what
there
I-
someplace. Where are you?
I am in here. Alfred Hitchcock is here, but the other Alfred Hitchcock, I did one myself. It's right here. My eyes.
Your eyes.
Yes. Can you tell?
no.
Meatball eyes. Yes. Anyway, I had some space to fill in, so
Your
there it
eyes.
is.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. All right, so now we got this book. And the publisher, what's the name of the publisher?
Inkwater Press.
Inkwater Press. And now I've heard from you that there's other stories here, because you've gone with this child from when he was younger to when he was like preteen or teen, and you're thinking of other possibilities.
Yes. I have book 3 and 4 and potentially 5, but 3 and 4 are pretty much in my head of a plot or a storyline. And that's just a matter of putting it on paper and getting it out there and seeing if he would like to do another illustrated, another book.
How long does it take you to write?
It's going to be shorter the next time. I must add that my books are a little bit text heavy. And while they're nice stories, I think I'm going to try and make it a little bit shorter. 7 pages on Word, 7 to 8 pages, and most children's Christmas books are 1 to 2 tops. But this is a real story, and then there's a few other stories going on because I have some friends. A friend of mine, Paul, used to be a New Haven cop, but there was a story with a cop with the family, so I put it in to,
Beef it
have
up.
some fun.
Yep.
And so there are some characters there that are real life in the book. And so yes, I do have a few more. Well, he's 9 now, so
Right.
maybe when he's 14 or 15, that's the 3rd book, and then somewhere maybe in college. And so there's a lot of potential there for some more books in this series.
So Little Joe could end up Big Joe.
Little Joe could end up, if I'm an elf and he goes up to meet Santa Claus and he gets a little coin from Santa, and in the book Santa says all elves have this, maybe there's a potential that Little Joe could become an elf himself, yes.
Nice.
Maybe not in the 3rd book or the 4th book, but maybe in the 5th one.
Aha. So now there seems to be a proposal on the table here. Are you going to be on board for the next couple of books?
That was the shortest conversation Jim and I had.
I was going to say, thanks for bringing it up.
I needed about 6 months rest after this book to be able to even listen to the next one, about the next one. But if you got a contract, I will sign it right here.
All right.
However,
Well, we
Cool.
did it with a handshake before, which was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so I will add one thing.
Sure, go ahead.
And I want to show a picture of the book about how good he is.
That's a good idea.
Because the first illustrator that I worked with was creative, and I could give her idea, a sentence or two she wanted of a scene. I want a house with a Christmas tree in the front yard. It wasn't too specific, but she would deliver me a Cape Cod house with a Christmas tree in the front yard. If it was on the different side, then I thought it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ideas in my head of what I want, but I had no picture for them. And what I learned about Tony, what Tony said to me a lot was, I see it, I do it. And so I was Googling pictures of doing this for the sled. But there was one picture that I wanted an aerial view that my first illustrator couldn't capture, unfortunately. But Tony, there was no picture of what I wanted.
Okay.
And Tony, he did such a good job with it. He nailed it. It was
He's a man.
It was exactly what I wanted, and but you probably won't pick it up on the camera, but it's an aerial view. Picture yourself in a plane 1,000 feet above the North Pole of Santa, and all the activities going on. It's got the toy shop, it's got the elves' quarters, it's got the airstrip for all the other elves to land, come and go. It's got a parking space, and of course it's got Santa's castle.
Correct.
So he did a terrific job with that, and there was no picture of that.
Yep.
I just said, Tony, this is sort of what I'm looking at. I tried to draw it, and what he produced was, so I was very happy with that.
He's
So,
got the mind of an artist as
In
well
that-
as the hand of an artist.
and I say this because it alludes to your question. That was since it was the most difficult one, it was going to be the last one that he did,
Yeah,
even though it's in the
off.
middle of the book. And I was so ecstatic. I said, hey, Tony, I got some other books. He said, can you do my next book? He says, hey, let's just settle. We just finished this.
the ink wasn't dry.
The ink
yet.
wasn't
See how
dry.
this
So
one goes.
that's why it was a short. We chuckle about it. So
All right. Were there any difficulties working together?
A lot of difficulties.
A lot of
Oh,
difficulties.
working together?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think so. I really don't think so. We were just, we hit it off.
yeah.
So you didn't know each other at all before
No.
this
No,
partnership?
we didn't.
No.
I think Jim was very understanding of what I was trying to do, and I was understanding what he was trying to do. And it wasn't just getting the picture on paper; it was going through a lot of trials. He mentioned he did some research. He wanted the sled to look like something or other, and I couldn't visualize it, so he would send over some sketches or pictures. The Yale Library is somewhere in there, I'm sure. A number of different pictures, because I'm picture oriented. I draw what I see. I'm not one who draws out of the.
I
the
literally
mind.
took a picture of Davenport College. I wanted that stone Gothic sort of look for the castle.
Yeah.
And he's, I don't have a picture, so I went, I was down there in New Haven anyway, so I drove by, took a picture and showed. He says, "Oh yeah, I know what that is," and so it worked out.
I mean, we use them as references,
Yeah.
but that was a challenging part because it took time. 2 days here, 3 days here,
Sure.
wait a day, and time is going by. We had a pretty tight deadline.
I don't think we ever raised our voice. And he says, I said, if you want to put in some stuff that you want to put in for a family member or whatever, a little remembrance or something, a place you went to school or something, by all means, put it in. I was very, because there's a few knickknacks I put in the first book of the father loved Michigan football, so I had the illustrator put on a Michigan sweater.
Yep.
I mean, it had to be, he needed something
not?
on him,
Yeah.
why not? So I did stuff like that. And, but no, I don't think, we never raised our voice. And we never had too many demands.
That's
we were
a good
very,
partnership.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It is.
Now, I have a question about something that's a minor theme in the book about bullying. How did that get in there?
Well, as I said, the second book was a little bit harder because I had to be creative. Or more creative than the first book, because the first book was out of memory. And a lot of people wanted a sequel, and I'm thinking of a theme and a plot, and it just so happened to be a time when I saw a lot of bullying in the news. And my aunt mentioned it to me one time in a phone call, and I just thought that was, any channel you turned on or in school or a newspaper you open up, there seemed to be some sort of bullying incident going on at school. And so I just addressed that. And some of the things that I wanted in the story, I I didn't know how to get little Joe to the North Pole. So the bullying was a nice vehicle to have that story wrapped around. So that's basically, and I just thought it goes on when you're 8 and 9 years old, so it was also age appropriate. And I just thought it was a good thing to write about.
Have either of you ever been bullied?
I have to say,
Yeah.
a long time ago.
I probably was when I was a little kid in school and didn't really realize it, but
Yeah.
and I might have done it too, but I wasn't realizing it at the time. But I was not I wasn't really a bullying type of kid.
Right.
So
That's good.
I broke up more bullying incidences than I started.
Yeah. Well, I have a little story about bullying that I sometimes bring up, which I would like to share with you. When I was a little kid, I was kind of puny, and I got bullied a lot. And I decided that I really didn't enjoy getting beat up. And so I thought, I got to figure out a way to stop this. I couldn't bribe anybody because I didn't have any money. And I realized that the kids who were bullying me in our school, they were called the hoods. And they wore black leather jackets and black engineer boots. And that's how you could tell these kids.
Hood.
And so I went to the head hood and I said, I got a proposal for you. I'm a pretty good artist, and I have this little set of cigarette pens. I don't know if you ever saw this when you were a kid, but they were all different colors, and the filter was the color of the ink. So I said to him, I'll tell you what, I will draw tattoos on your arms and wrists that you like, snakes wrapped around knives and stuff, if you guys stop bullying me. I mean, you don't want to break my fingers or anything, because then I can't do your tattoos. And so yeah, I think we could agree to that. So that was it.
Yes.
I became the tattoo artist to the hoods in my school.
Oh my
I
God.
didn't get bullied anymore.
You made a deal.
I did. I made a deal.
Good
Now,
story.
Mr. Tony, in that
Yeah.
portfolio, do
Yes.
you have one of the houses that you've done?
I do not.
You do not. How about the picture of the young ladies?
I think I have some young ladies.
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, I've done maybe 50 buildings, home portraits, mostly dwellings, but a few businesses too.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that. But the two ladies you speak of might be this.
Yes. Yes.
Get it straight. Is it straight in there?
It looks pretty good. Yep.
Yeah.
Pull that toward the camera over there. Yep.
And
Good.
these are two young ladies that I was working with at one time. They got together and I took over 80 pictures of them. I just said, have some fun in my yard.
Yeah.
And they were just dancing around. They were 17 or 18 years old. And I captured a number of good shots, but this one got me. And I call it Don't Tell. And it's all dots as well,
Yeah.
as you might guess.
Oh, yeah.
But that's one of my favorites.
I have a copy of that.
You do?
I do. It's hanging in the Sage Art Gallery as we speak.
It is?
It is,
Oh my
yes.
God, I'm famous. In
You
the
are.
Sage Art Gallery.
Yes, it is. Yes. It's not open yet, but someday it will be open, and people will see it.
Okay.
Are there any
Well,
other
that's
pictures
good.
in there you want to share?
Well,
Like
yeah,
I
a
have
few.
another one, but it's probably not in there. You did one of Lock 12.
That's one of the first ones I did.
Excellent work.
Yeah, Lock 12. Well, here's one of a young lady, because these are prints.
Yeah.
This young lady, about 12 or 13, and that was her new horse, Cash. So her grandmother asked me to come up and take pictures. And she rode around, and then she kind of snuggled up to him. And I got this, one of my, I don't know much about horses except that I saw the picture, see the picture, draw the picture. So there's a lot of anatomy in here in the horse. And I'm very pleased with it. But it's
Yeah.
it's an old one. This is a reduced size. This was about twice the size. And so that's another one I'm very happy with.
Yeah, that's emotion.
Girl and her
I don't know if
horse.
you have
Yeah.
any others. I did this for a friend of mine who's no longer with us. He was a major Ray Charles fan, and he gave me a bunch of magazine covers.
Hold it still.
I'm sorry, I was
That's
looking
okay. Well,
at it.
we'll
see-
forgive you.
Okay.
We want to make
And
sure it's
he
featured.
wanted this, and he didn't say anything else. Just, I want this. He gave me a bunch of pictures, as I said. It's from magazines. So I did this of Ray Charles when he was younger, and then more recent at the time.
Yeah.
And that one, I made a few copies. He allowed me to, and I sold a number of these as prints.
Cool. Yeah.
Guess what?
What?
Dots.
That's nice.
Dots nice.
That's nice. Now, you also did the John F. Kensett book that was done by Arts Place.
Yes, and-
CPFA.
Yes, I did. John Kensett, very famous luminist, Hudson River, 19th century artist.
Born in Cheshire.
Born in Cheshire.
Went to
right
Cheshire
on-
Academy for a little while.
Went to Cheshire Academy,
Yeah.
yes, and his works are in most of the major, if not all, major museums,
Yep.
art museums in this country and internationally as well.
Well, I have a little secret to share with you in the town of Cheshire.
You've had it. You talked to him too. No.
No. I discovered him years and years ago. Not that I was needing to discover him. I mean, he was a well-known artist, but not too many people in Cheshire knew about him. So I started doing some research, and I did a few events and stuff. And I decided that there should be some kind of a memoriam for John F. Kensett in Cheshire. So I wanted it to be a Kensett corner. And I thought the corner where St. Peter's Cemetery is on Route 10 and Main Street would be a good place. So I found out that for some reason, the Park and Rec Commission are the people that can allow this. I thought it would have been the town council.
Good think. Yeah.
So I went to one of the town council people, and they said, you know, probably should be someplace down farther south, maybe where the Cheshire High School corner is. And so I went to the Park and Rec Commission. They agreed. So that corner is now called Kensett Corner.
It is.
And for years and years, I've been meaning to get a banner there, but I've been having trouble getting the state to let me put it on one of the state utility poles. And I'm trying to get permission to put it on the utility pole at Cheshire High School. And so
Cool.
sometime soon, the rest of the world will know that that's Kensett Corner.
John Kensett.
And I see by our timekeeper that we have a scant 30 seconds left. So I would like to thank you both for coming on the show and letting us know about these. They're available here and there on the internet. What was the name of the publisher?
Inkwater Press.
Inkwater Press. And thank you for sharing your stories.
Thank you.
It's great
All right.
to be here, Ron.
Great to be here.
And thank you
Thanks.
for tuning in, because if it's not for you tuning in, why would we even want to be here? Bye-bye.